During Silver Week, we went to Hell Valley in Noboribetsu. This is a large volcanic area with a lot of natural springs of waters and a geyser. It's almost always shrouded in loud clouds of steam and smells heavily of sulfur. Down the first section of path there's a small box full of hot sulfuric water around 60 degrees, and beside that is a small shrine. This area is quite pungent as a small stream of sulfur-heavy water flows past. From here you ascend back up the stairs, the camera firmly planted in my girlfriend's ass, sadly cut from this version of the film, before heading down a path that overlooks the valley. This area has been recently redone as a hole opened up beside the old path, venting hot gas across the walkway. The new path is raised quite a bit higher than the old path, so you get a decent view compared to before. Below here you can see numerous springs and small pools of boiling mud. I love how the ground is covered in sulfur deposits, and the surrounding land has sunk into the various pits. Past here you return to the original path and make your way down towards the Tessen Pond. Looking back you can see one of the main sources of the steam, as well as a few streams carving through the landscape. This next section I really enjoy as there's various types of spring water pouring out from the ground with different chemical compositions. Right here we can see one spring of sulfur mixing with another spring that has a lot of mud and calcium in it. As we move a little further ahead, you can see that the mud is actually coming from a third stream and mixing with the calcium heavy larger stream. The centerpiece to this area is Tessen Pond, which is an intermittent geyser. The level of this pond varies, but it's on a random schedule and you can't really tell when it's going to rise or fall. Behind that is a rather large crater which has no real viewpoint at the moment. You can just see a large amount of steam coming out of it, and it's likely the source of the larger stream. Heading up the hill nets you a decent view of the whole area, though wrapping around to see it from another angle is impossible to do if you're Japanese and follow the rules. It's also a no drone zone, so that's another option you can't really use. From here there's a small climb to a park, and then about a 10-minute walk up a path to get to a viewpoint over Onuma Pond. This is also where you promise your girlfriend that you're gonna play music over this part so that she can't be heard, but then you don't really do it either. This whole area smells pretty heavily of sulfur, and it makes it a bit difficult to breathe even when you're doing simple activities. Finally you come to a section that walks over the highway that runs up through the mountains here, and head down a path that has a few OGs on it. And just past the little guys here you finally get to the viewpoint over Onuma. Sadly on the GoPro you don't really get a detailed image of the massive amounts of water boiling out of the ground on the far side, but you do get a decent idea of the size of the place as well as the amount of steam coming out of the ground.
下に下見えそうね。よく曇りすぎて何も見えない。そこの上にも煙出ているところ。
Heading down here you come across a cyclone that looks like it was active within recent years but has since stopped being active. There is a bit of a smell and a little bit of steam and water, but nothing major. The last section is a stretch set of stairs down to the back parking lot in between Onuma Pond and Okunoyu. The two are connected by a stream that's full of mud. The stream is pretty bloody hot near the source, but it gradually cools down as it travels. What strikes me about this pond is not the large amount of water pumping in from the back, but the fact that there's water swelling up from just about all over the place. Muddy. Here the stream from Okunoyu mixes with some fresh water. I love the way that the colors mix. Further down here the two mix again with another fresh stream, diluting the water even more before heading into the Onuma Pond. Onuma is quite large and has one major source of water boiling from the back. There's a lot of smaller sections of boiling water as well. The surface temperature is 50 degrees, so it's already third degree burn area. But what's worse is that the bottom of the pond is a mix of mud and sand, which basically sucks you down like quicksand. So if you walk in there, there's not a good chance that you can walk back out. I like this section because there's a small mountain of mud that's opened up where water is boiling up. You can see small bits of mud popping out of the hole, but it's not easy to pick up on the GoPro. From here there's an entrance to a path that follows the river that flows out of Onuma Pond down through the forest. Behind this fence is another large spring, but at the moment it's closed to an impending eruption. While it's not printed on the signs here, other information says that the pool starts clear and then gradually changes color before it erupts and then refills itself again with clear water. From here we follow the river downhill past quite a few small waterfalls. There's a lot of mist and heat thrown up from the river around this area. Where the water finally cools down enough, there's a natural footbath that's been made out of the riverbed. There's paths to sit on to keep your ass dry, and the riverbed is mostly soft sand and mud. The further down the river you go, the cooler it gets. Whilst beside the waterfall, it's actually quite hot. Beyond that, I tend to dig my feet down into the sand in this area to give them a good bake. From here, it's downhill the rest of the way except when it's uphill, but it's like 95% downhill. Finally, the stream that flows off of Onuma Pond mixes with the fresh river nearby, and again you get that mixing effect except on a more macro scale. Watching over the exit to the river is Father Demon and his child, and just down from there is a small religious building that also has a natural spring pouring out sulfuric water. I love how it's built up into a large pile at the bottom of the water chute. And finally we return to the center of town, where there is a large geyser. The geyser fires approximately every 3 hours for about 50 minutes. It can throw water as high as 8 meters, though they've built a roof over it now and you don't really get to see that phenomenon. The geyser makes an intense thumping sound as water pours out of it. I don't know what causes it. I don't know if it's water hitting the rock surface below or what, but it's been recorded there for a long time. And since the day is hot and the water is hotter, it's time for a milk float. From here we hike back up through the town, just check out the stores on the way home. Poor Enma-chan is all alone in the dark here. But all in all, a decent break from work.